Everyone, I'm Melissa, the Communications Manager here at Fountaindale Public Library, and I'm making a special guest appearance today to recommend Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. I first got wind of this book last November when I wrote a blog post about 10 books by Native American authors for Native American Heritage Month, and I'm so glad I read it. It is such a good book. It was actually my first 5-star read of the year. So I truly recommend it and want to recommend it to you today as well. Firekeeper's Daughter is about Donis. She is a biracial high school senior. She's actually the daughter of a scandalous relationship. Her mother is white and from a wealthy family, and her father was a Native American hockey player. And because of this, she doesn't really fit in both her hometown nor her Ojibwe reservation. And even though she is deeply connected to her Native American roots, she's not an enrolled member of the tribal council. So because she doesn't fit in, she was really looking forward to making a fresh start at college, but her dreams are kind of put on hold when her uncle suddenly dies. And she was very close to him. Her mother was very close to him. And so it became very devastating for her and her family. And then soon after that, her grandmother actually has a stroke. So she puts her college plans on hold and decides to stay local so that she can help take care of her mother. Soon after that, though, her outlook changes a little bit when a new guy comes to town, Jamie. He's attractive and he plays hockey on her brother's hockey team, and she and him become close friends, even though she still senses he's a little guarded and he may not be being fully transparent with her. Unfortunately, though, for Donis, soon after that, she witnesses the tragic and shocking murder of a close friend, and that actually launches her into an FBI investigation. Donis is a really talented student, especially in science, and she has a fantastic knowledge of medicinal plants because of her Ojibwe upbringing. So she actually becomes a really great asset for the FBI to the investigation. But the search becomes a lot more complicated than Donis had initially imagined. It definitely exposes some secrets in the community and about her family, and it definitely digs up some old wounds. So it puts her to the test, and she really has to decide how far she wants to go to know the truth, even though it's really tearing up the only life that she's ever known. So that's just a quick synopsis of the book, and I definitely think you should check it out. I love YA mysteries, so if you enjoy books like the Truly Devious series or One of Us is Lying or Good Girl's Guide to Murder, then Firekeeper's Daughter is definitely for you. Personally, I really loved learning about the Ojibwe culture and traditions, and it just was an overall fantastic story. The characters were really great. The storyline developed excellently. Like, I just loved it. I do want to give a quick trigger warning, though. This book does deal with a lot of sensitive issues, including drug abuse, sexual assault, and rape. And it does a really fantastic job of also bringing to light the really horrific statistics around missing and murdered Indigenous women. I actually listened to it on Libby as an audiobook, and I really recommended that because there are a lot of Ojibwe words in here and a lot of dialogue, so that really helped me with the pronunciations. So again, I cannot recommend this book enough. It was one of my favorites of the year, and I think you should give it a try.
Hello, my name is Ian, and I want to talk about a book called Pumpkin by Julie Murphy today. It is an excellent book that I really enjoyed reading, and I really want to recommend it. It came out just last year in 2021. There are 3 interconnected books that Julie Murphy has written. They're called Dumplin', Puddin', and Pumpkin. Dumplin' I read because Netflix made it into a movie a few years back with Jennifer Aniston as the mother. And so I liked the movie, and it's outside of the usual genres I read, which are fantasy and science fiction. So I thought I would challenge myself to step outside of my usual area. And also, it just looks so pretty on the shelf, and I am easily swayed by the inclusion of rainbows on pretty much anything because I am a simple man and I like rainbows. But basically what Pumpkin is about is the main character, Waylon, is a twin. His sister, Clementine, and him are seniors. They're about to graduate and go off to college. They thought that they had this plan together. They were going to go to Austin, Texas together, and they were going to be themselves in college, basically. Waylon knows that he is gay. He knows that he is a little bit more flamboyant than typical boys in his Texas town at his high school, and so he has struggled with being himself, and he thinks that going to college will allow him the opportunity to grow into his own skin, basically. Unfortunately, that's not how it ends up happening. He finds out that his sister has been accepted into a different college that he didn't apply to, and she hasn't talked to him about it yet, and it's heartbreaking. So he records like a joke entry for a drag show that he really likes to watch. It's clearly a spoof of RuPaul, but so that video he makes gets passed around the school. And as a joke, the popular kids enroll him, Waylon, as prom queen to the prom queen court. And then his friend Hannah, who is a character from the earlier books in the series, kind of like she's been around, but she's Clementine's girlfriend, so his sister's girlfriend. And she gets nominated for prom king. And so they decide, you know what? Why not run? This is our time too. Let's make it the best we can. And what I really like about Julie Murphy's writing is even when these characters are 17 years old and highly emotional and on the cusp of being able to start the rest of their lives, like graduating high school and being an adult, like that's all terrifying and exciting, and like you can really feel that. But she also really takes the time to show the character growth at the end, which I really could have used as a teenager, getting to see how it's okay to be hurt and it's okay to have those emotions, and that your sister hurt you and it feels like a betrayal, that the plan you thought you had your whole life is now no longer the plan, and that it's okay to feel like that, but also it's okay that other people may change or have different plans too. And navigating that difficulty just felt very real. And all three of these books just kind of end happy. It's not about like overcoming incredible odds necessarily, but it's about being your best person and your best self. And that's something that I struggled with for a long time, and I'm in my 30s now and just now really becoming comfortable in my skin. So being able to read about characters that can find themselves so much younger is healing to me, but also like I just find it interesting, and just the way that it hurts to be bullied, and it really does. But Waylon as a character grows into himself. You know, he was so afraid for so long to be himself and to be different than what is expected, and that is hard and it's isolating. But you can also find your own people when you're authentic to yourself. It'll draw people like you. And so the fact that all of these books kind of end with that upbeat message that people are different, people come in different shapes and sizes and with different backgrounds and different futures, and none of us are better or worse than each other, but the best thing you can do for yourself is to be honest about who you are. And I just really like that message. It's realistic in a way that's not depressing like so much of the realistic fiction is these days, or that I have come across. I don't want to like disparage non-fantasy literature. I just really like it when there's spaceships or explosions, I guess. But I was wildly emotional reading these, and I think it's highly worth it to be able to encounter characters that struggle in such realistic ways and relatable ways. And you know, I didn't grow up the same way that Waylon did, but I think all of us can understand the struggle to be unique, because all people are. We're all different. I just really like it. It's really positive. And so if that's the kind of thing that you're into, we definitely have it on shelf. We've got the first two, Dumplin' and Puddin', as well, which are about different characters at the same high school. And it just kind of gives you different insight into the different kinds of people that might be around that maybe you didn't even notice before, until something brings you together. And it's just really sweet, and it makes me really happy. So I hope you enjoy it if you check it out too.
Hi, my name is Stephen Ford, and I am the Digital Communications Administrator at Fountaindale Library. My pronouns are he, him, and today I'd like to talk to you about a book called Fine. It is a nonfiction graphic novel for young adults, and it discusses gender. This is written by an author, Rhea Ewing, and it is a collection of stories. So the premise of the book is that the author, Rhea, was trying to figure out their gender identity. They struggled with their gender since they were a kid, basically, all the way through high school and college, and even as an adult, they struggled with who they are. What is their gender? What is their identity? Where do they belong? What is their sexuality? And in an effort to figure out who they are, they decided to interview dozens of people over the course of a decade across the United States. So they interviewed people who are Black, Indigenous, Asian, white, cis people, straight people, gay people, queer people, trans people, asexual people, queer gender people, tons and tons and tons of people over the course of a decade. Some of these people they went back to for follow-up interviews, and they gathered all these different stories and collected those interviews in this book. It is a beautifully written book. It is, like I said, it's a graphic novel, so there are lots of pictures. So it's a quick read. I was able to read this in just a few days, and I'm a slow reader. I like this book because what it does is it's not coming from the perspective of the author is a researcher in gender studies or somebody who went to school for gender issues. This is a person who is just trying to find their place in the world and interviewed other people about gender, gender in general, their specific gender stories, and it really just built this sense of community, this idea that there is no one answer to the question of gender, and really demystified a lot of the questions that people have about gender. I learned so much in this book. I am queer, but I'm cisgendered, and I learned so much about what it's like to be trans in America, whether that's healthcare or pronouns or just in general trying to find a place of belonging. So I really recommend this book if you're somebody who wants to learn more about what it's like to be trans, or just someone in general who wants to learn about gender. The book covers a lot of different topics, everything from what is femininity, what is masculinity, what is race have to do with gender, how do you express your gender, how do you feel about your body, what are hormones and how do they play into your gender expression, everything from healthcare to language to relationships, housing, navigating bathrooms, what is a queer community, how do we build a queer community, how do we build gender. It really discusses so many different things, and like I said, it's not about the perspective of I know everything and I'm telling you all these things. It's the perspective of collecting stories, telling other people's stories in a way that's respectful and vulnerable and honest. And I really think anyone of any age, but especially teenagers who are trying to figure out themselves, would really benefit from reading this book. So this book, Fine, by Rhea Ewing, is available at Fountaindale Library in print. We also have a copy on the Bookmobile. So stop by, check it out, and I hope you enjoy. Take care.